And we'll move on to Dr. Smetana.
Good evening. The attached reports in Board Book will provide the Board with financial information for the month of May, which represents 92% of a fiscal year. On Board Book page 4 begins the monthly summary report. The total operating revenue for the month was $1,684,286, with 59% coming from property tax and CPPRT, 15% coming from federal and state reimbursements, and then 11% coming from evidence-based funding, which is our state funding. Total operating expenditures for the month were $2,146,892, with 75% towards salary and benefits, 11% for purchase services, primarily food service, not only for RB, but also for the satellite schools, and then 6% for other purchases, mostly capital and non-capital items such as the wellness center equipment, as well as some purchases for the music department. We bought a sound system for the choir room, an amp, as well as a marching sousaphone. Looking at the monthly financial statements on Board Book page 56, the summary of revenue shows that the district has received 106.4% of our budgeted revenue for this year. This percent is higher than this time last year, which was 97.9%. In regards to property tax, we have 2 line items in the budget through various accounts. One is called prior year, which refers to the fall collection, and then one is called current year, which refers to the spring collection. In the fall, we collected roughly $9.7 million, and in the spring, we collected a little over $11 million. Looking at both of these line items, we, in both line items, have collected 100.4% of what we had budgeted for. There is still some possibility, since the deadline was extended to May, that we could collect some additional money trickling in the month of June. I'm not sure, since we're not necessarily following our normal pattern of tax collection. And then in a normal year, we budget a little higher in terms of how much money we're actually going to collect. We typically budget at 99% collection rate. This year we budgeted at 97%. Moving on, the summary of expenditure shows that the district has spent 86.9% of the budgeted expenditures for this year, and that is significantly down from this time last year. 87% is relatively low. So as we're tracking how things come in for the budget for this fiscal year, it's not going to be what we projected. We're continuing to track it. It's hard to predict an actual number right now, since I'm not sure what additional revenue is going to come in either from the federal or state, as well as property tax. And then always for the board's information, I included the statement of revenues and expenditures report, as well as the student activity account report. Just keep in mind, when you do look at that report, negative account balances represent positive fund balances. And that concludes my report for tonight.
Chris, in the 80s, what is it, 86.9, 87%? Yeah. We're not anticipating much more in revenue unless there's some late payments, right? But we do have some big expenditures coming up through June, obviously payroll, any end of the year purchases.
We have payroll, and then we'll have a little over $1 million in expenditures. So I'm anticipating roughly anywhere from 2.5 to maybe 300 or 3 million in expenditures. We're currently sitting at a little bit. If you look all the way back on Board Book page 55.
Can we bring that back on the?
If you can go to Board Book page 55, Marion. As you can see, we're currently sitting for this fiscal year in our operating funds with a little over $6.5 million, and so it's likely that we will finish this year with a surplus. But it's a little hard to tell. Some of this is going to depend on, if we get significant revenue in from property tax or federal or state. That will certainly drive the revenue up.
So I know there's always some discussion about fee collection at the end of the year. How did that look this year, being the year that it was?
I don't have a specific number, because not all of the revenue has hit, but we felt like families were we were collecting somewhat as we would in a normal fiscal year. But I can get an exact number and provide the historicals at the next meeting.
I think for year end, I'd just like to see how it compares year over year. And then refresh my memory before you get into the budget. What's the projected property tax collection rate for next year? What do we settle on?
We currently have in fiscal year 22, 97%
Okay.
collection rate. We were going to wait to see exactly what we finished at this year before determining if we should increase that to 98 or 99% for next year.
Okay, thank you.
Remember, so tonight when you approve the tentative budget, it's just so that we have a tentative budget in place, so start getting through the months of July and August. We will make adjustments to the final budget in July and August, and then approve those formally in September.
Because we're required by law to, when is the
The budget,
posting?
you have to post it for 30 days and then run a hearing in September and approve the budget. But I think that's what Kristen's saying is like, the June 30 actuals, we probably won't get till July. So by that time, you want to have the tentative budget approved, but it may show that 97's too low, 99 might be better, right?
Right.
So those are some of the things that we can adjust.
Any more questions? Okay, does that conclude your report?
Mm-hmm.